Middle class Americans are living in cars. Here's the income shift nobody sees. Have you noticed something strange happening in America? People with jobs, people who look normal, people who supposedly did everything right, are quietly living in their cars. Some are staying in hotels, motels. Some are even living on cruise ships. Some are moving overseas. And the scary part is this is no longer rare. This is becoming a strategy. Because for millions of people, the math no longer works. And today, I want to talk about why this is happening and why I believe a new kind of income may become necessary. We're talking about digital income. Now, let me say something important. This is not about failure. People aren't failing. This is not about laziness. This is not always about bad decisions. This is most simply about economics, plain and simple, just money. Because the reality is that rent went up, insurance went up, food went up, healthcare went up, utilities went up, everything went up except wages. That's always the case. And for many people, the heat is on and it's turned up high. This creates pressure. And when the pressure builds long enough, people start making survival moves, sleeping in a vehicle, renting rooms, living with family, downsizing everything. Not because they want to, but because they have to. You see, years ago, the middle class meant stability. It meant a home, nice car, decent savings. Retirement was in sight. Today, middle class households are one emergency away from heartbreaking stress. One car repair. I experienced this myself. One medical bill, one layoff, one rent increase, and suddenly the whole picture changes. Everything. And that's why you're seeing people making radical adjustments. Some people are selling their homes. Some are leaving the more expensive states for the less expensive states. Some are retiring abroad. Many are choosing this route. Some are trying to, side hustles for the first time in their life. And some are asking the biggest question of all. How do I create income, additional income, without trading all my time? That question matters now more than ever. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Depending on one source of income today is risky. Depending on one source of income today is risky, too risky. Because the reality is that if that income stops, everything else stops with it. That may have worked decades ago, but we are now living in a new economy. Technology has changed everything, or almost everything. The internet has changed everything, or almost everything. Things are different. People are earning money from their skills, their knowledge, experience, and the information that they've gathered over the years. It's not just labor anymore. Labor is over. You got computers, you got robots and all that kind of stuff. This is a major shift. And many people still don't get it. Still doing things the old-fashioned way. But many of us do get it and realize that this is the digital economy. Digital products is the new sheriff in town. Create something valuable, something needed. You create it one time and you sell it over and over and over again. Ebooks, guides, checklists, templates, a beginner course, a coaching session, a resource list, a relocation guide, a budgeting planner, a how I did it roadmap. You can do that. But this is where many people miss the opportunity because they think, I'm not famous, I'm not an influencer, I'm not technical, I'm too old, I missed my chance. No, 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 no. Some of the most valuable knowledge comes from lived experience, especially if you're over 50, like myself. You see, because you know what mistakes cost. You've made enough of them that you know what mistakes cost. You know what works. You know how life really moves, more so than a 30-year-old. No disrespect to the 30-year-olds. That wisdom that you have now can be packaged, presented, and positioned for those who need it most. But let's be realistic. I want you to imagine creating a simple $27 product and sell just 2 per day. That's $54 per day. That's around $1,600 a month. That's not fantasy. It certainly ain't overnight success, but meaningful enough money that could cover a car payment, insurance, groceries, utilities, that could reduce some of the pressure if you're facing some. And when pressure goes down, life gets clearer. This is why I talk about digital products. That's my avenue. No hype, just some relief. But this conversation is bigger than money. It's about dignity. It's about options. It's about freedom. It's about peace of mind. Because when you have no options or few options, stress rises. When you have choices, life feels different. When money is flowing, life feels different. So maybe you never live in a car. Maybe that's not your story. But the warning is still useful. The old system is under pressure. So building something of your own, it just makes sense. Even if it's small. Especially if it's small. So if you've been thinking about creating extra income online, this may be your sign to start. This is not for everybody, but for those that it is, just start. Create something that helps ordinary people. So I created something that helps ordinary people with digital products. No hype, no confusion, no promises, just a practical path. Now, if that interests you, check the link below. If this message resonated with you at all, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Help the channel grow. Because transformation starts with information.